Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in Vietnam right now and we are at the factory, or rather the complete facility of VinFast, where these cars are being made. Now, a lot of you might have seen these earlier at the Bharat Mobility Show, but now the plant in India is also close to completion, and these cars, well, these are India spec. The VF6 and the VF7, they will be out on the Indian roads very soon. But we are driving these India spec cars at the facility today, and we are going to give you an initial impression of how they look, they feel. Of course, the detailed reviews will be coming out later. Now, first of all, let's talk about the design. Now, when you notice these cars, both of them, you can, well, very clearly see that they've got a similar looking front, and that's because on all VinFast products, you'll see this logo, this brand identity, the V, which is very apparent. Of course, this is a completely glowing LED DRL, so in the dark, it's even more visible. But yes, this is something that you will see as a design feature across all vehicles. But then again, there are differences. The VF6 is a smaller car. The VF7 is a much larger car, has a longer wheelbase. So different segments. These, like I said earlier, are Indian spec cars. So the ground clearance has been raised for these cars by increasing the wheel size. Also, they have Indian tires. We are in Vietnam right now, but they already have Indian tires. Like I said, they're spec'd for India. And in terms of design, yes, I would say they do look quite sharp and modern. It's not a design that's too loud, not too quirky. So that's a good thing. Easy on the eye, and overall, I think sort of just blends in and looks quite pleasing to look at. But yes, of course, we'll need to see over a course of time how it fares in terms of many other aspects such as build quality and all. But the VF7, of course, is a much more premium looking product, as you can make out by the design and even by these wheels, the overall silhouette of the vehicle. So yes, two different segments and different design philosophies. Overall, I think they look quite pleasing to start with. And right now I'm inside the cabin of the VF7, which is, like I said earlier, the more premium, the larger car of these two. And before I go in and tell you how this car performs, let me give you a quick run through in terms of what this VinFast story is all about. Well, VinFast is part of the Vin Group, and Vin Group is a large conglomerate in Vietnam and is spread across different businesses. So it's not just automotive, but they're into the education sector, hospitality sector, medical sector, real estate, lot of companies. And that's why VinFast is the automotive arm, and they also make a lot of their own parts. In fact, even the AI that goes into the system, that's done by a Vin Group AI company that supplies the AI for this system. So you see, a lot of content is controlled internally, and that's the advantage large conglomerates have, and that's what VinFast is benefiting from, being part of the Vin Group. Now, coming back to the VF7, well, first of all, the numbers, it's in terms of battery, it's got a battery which is a little over 70 kilowatt hours and develops over just 200 horsepower, or maybe just over 201 horsepower in the single motor version. If you go in for the dual motor version, then you get a double power output and you get 402 horsepower. So that's even more quicker and more fun to drive. But this one that I'm driving right now, this also is quite quick to drive. Off the line, I think it could be a bit better in terms of acceleration. Off the line acceleration could be a bit better, but once it gets going, and the rolling acceleration is quite impressive, especially in the sport mode. It's quite nice. Different levels of region settings that you can get through. But before you get to that driving part, one of the things you will notice is that there's no instrument cluster. No instrument cluster at all. Of course, all the functions are controlled by this large screen here. Or for drive selection, you've got the buttons here. But again, beyond that, nothing. What you get in place of the instrument cluster is a heads-up display on the windshield, quite elaborate. In a way, it's good because it means you do not have to take your eyes off the road, and it seems bright enough right now. So I think it should work well even in the bright sunlight we get back home in India. Overall range from an Indian perspective is not out yet. The testing is on, but in international markets they claim a range of about 440 kilometers for this car. So I think maybe on the brief driving that I've done in the plant, I think about a little over 350 kilometers is what you can expect. But keep in mind, this is again controlled conditions in the plant. We will talk about the range only once we drive the car on roads in India. But initial impressions, I think it feels good. It's got a good suspension setup. It copes up well with the quick directional changes. Maybe a bit too inclined on the softer side, more inclined towards comfort. That does affect the the dynamic abilities a bit. I think the car, in terms of its hardware, the suspension is inherently capable of handling the speeds in a better way, but maybe it just needs to be tuned again. So that's something that can be done easily. ADAS functions, yes, it's loaded with ADAS functions, and again, all of these systems you can control using this touchscreen here, which by the way has got good amount of a very good sharp resolution. It's great in terms of touch display also. So yes, it does feel like a premium car, and that's what I want to highlight. As a car maker that has no legacy of making cars, they've just been making cars for about 2 years, and to get basics such as this cabin quality, the touch and feel of the materials, the build quality, all of those things, to get them pretty much spot on is something very impressive. And even in terms of performance, the hardware, the way the vehicles drive, all of it just feels quite nice. Of course, better in the VF7 because it's a more expensive model, so of course it's a different segment. But yes, I think as far as initial impressions are concerned, the VF7 does check most of the right boxes, and I think VinFast is off to a great start in terms of at least delivering the product. There are changes that have been made to the car to suit the Indian market. We'll talk more about them at a later stage when we drive them in the country, but yes, feels sporty, is quick to drive, is comfortable, feels premium, is feature loaded, massive panoramic sunroof like a lot of people love, and at the same time has got good amount of space, good amount of practicality. The backrest angle adjustment that you have at the rear seat is something I really like, which means you get a very good comfortable seating position, especially during long drives. Add all of these things and you get a car that seems like a very strong package. Now we need to see when the launch happens, which should happen soon. The plant is nearing completion in about 2 months from now, and that will be followed by the launch. And if they are able to price this comparatively, I think yes, VinFast will have made a good start in the Indian market. Alright, now let me just tell you how the VF6 feels in terms of driving. Well, first of all, the cabin. Once you get inside the cabin, one of the first things you'll notice is the layout. It's a clean layout. There's not too much happening, so it's a good thing. It's not a very busy design. Looks nicely integrated, flows well, and that's why it's easy on the eye. In terms of instrument cluster, this is the first thing, and a lot of people will notice that there is no instrument cluster at all, and that is replaced by a heads-up display, which is quite elaborate. So all of the information that you need is on the windshield. In a way, it's good because you don't need to take your eyes off the road to decipher all of the key information. But yes, it does take some time getting used to. The screen here itself, it's a nice, large, colorful touch screen. The touch response seems good. The UI also seems good in terms of initial impressions. A lot of it, even the AI that is being used, that is also part of the Vin group. It's a company that does AI. So a lot of things in this ecosystem are being done by companies that are part of the Vin group. So that's a good thing from a car maker's perspective. It will of course have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and in terms of specs, well, this one has a battery of just under 60 kilowatt hours, and the power output is at about 200 horsepower. How's it to drive? Well, to start with, it does feel quick off the line, and yeah, it seems like it's a 200 horsepower car, so it validates that, at least in terms of driving impression. What does, however, stand out when you drive it, you push it fast, is like, I don't know if it's an issue for this particular car, but you will notice there are some vibrations with the steering column. Sort of, I'm getting directly what's from the road, but again, I think that's an issue that can be fixed. In terms of the overall range, that is something I can't speak about right now because we are driving it in a very limited a setup inside the plant. But again, that's something we'll let you know once we drive the car in India. As of now, initially it feels decent to drive. The overall visibility is good from a driver's perspective. The rear visibility is a bit narrow, could have been better, but the front and the side visibility is good. The steering feels good. It's got a nice grip to it. The seats are comfortable, quite supportive. So add all of these things and what you get is a car that seems to check most of the boxes that you expect from a decent product. For a company that has only started making cars now, has no legacy of making cars, I think this is a good start. Nothing that is basic is wrong in this car. So the car maker has ensured that everything that is a basic hygiene requirement or an expectation from an Indian consumer, I think that has been taken care of. Of course, finer details we'll get into at a later stage, but initial impressions do suggest that VinFast is on the right track with the VF6. What the kind of pricing will be, what will be the other details, that is something we'll get to know soon because the plant is very close to the completion stage. The company says about a couple of months to go before local production starts in India for these cars, and post that, of course, the launch will happen and the deliveries will begin. But what do you think of the way the car has been configured? What do you think of the way the car looks? Also, what do you think of the fact that there is no instrument cluster? Let us know in the comment section.
At the end of the day, I came back pleasantly surprised. Considering VinFast is new to the world of making cars, the VF7 and VF6 highlighted that the brand isn't lacking on any front. Be it design, tech, features, or power and range, both cars deliver well. Yes, there are a few edges that need to be smoothened out, but none of them are deal breakers. Overall, VinFast seems set on the product front, especially with the VF7. Keep in mind though that crucial things such as pricing, brand building, service network and a lot more will play a critical role in the brand's journey in India, the start of which seems to be pretty solid.